What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go up 2.78% today, 1309 the low, 1369 the high. Kind of low volume, but it wasn't just with SoFi, it was pretty much across the board, but 53 million shares being traded, 63 is the average. So a couple of things did move SoFi, especially you had a lot of volatility. First thing, so you had a nice spike up because of a new analyst rating, and that firm pretty much hit up a lot of the other fintechs as well. So fintechs were having their time in the sun, so getting a lot of attention today. And then you did have this dip. That dip was because of this. So we did have the S&P Global manufacturing and also ISM manufacturing, both coming in a little bit lower than the forecast. So all in all, kind of signaling a little bit of a slowing. When it comes down to the S&P Global, that one does canvas. I believe it is roughly around 800 different manufacturers. ISM is a little bit more fine-tuned at, I believe it is like 300 or 400. Still, nonetheless, though, both didn't really come in like as expected. So let me know your viewpoint on that. This could potentially impact and justify rate cuts down the line. So the market might kind of spin this, but I think they're just waiting for the rest of the week. So we have a lot of big data points, such as even tomorrow, we have JOLT numbers, ADP employment on Wednesday, ISM services, we have exports, imports, and then Friday is going to be a big day. So a lot of big kind of data that could justify rate cuts. So we'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out. But Trump did actually motivate the market. So SoFi was starting to lose a little bit of momentum here, started to dip, and then you had Trump. So Trump came out with something right here, and that was this. Essentially a threat, but nonetheless, the Trump administration wants countries to provide their best offer on trade negotiations by Wednesday as officials seek to accelerate talks with multiple partners ahead of a self-imposed deadline in just 5 weeks. So at the end of the day, this is going to bring more deals and hopefully really stimulate a kind of boost higher in the broader market. So it's kind of a bold thing to do, but nonetheless, markets seem to really like it. So it kind of moved higher at the end of the day as well. You did have this come out. So looks like Trump did extend the pause on some Chinese goods to August the 31st. So still extending a little bit of maybe negotiations for that. So I think all in all, that is a pretty good thing. When it comes down to the analyst rating that caused that nice spike up, that was right here. So 𝗖𝗧, and it did give a $14 hold on SoFi. Initiated coverage, so means brand new rating. And like I said, they pretty much did hit up the whole fintech sector. So I think as Robinhood, PayPal also got one's ratings. Not as bullish, I feel like, as SoFi. And even in general, $14 to some people might not be bullish, but given where SoFi was at, it's still seen as upside, better than 8 or even what KBW did at 9. So all in all, market did take this as fairly optimistic. And at the end of the day, you did see a lot of good volume. So even though the volume was a little bit lower, you did actually see institutions actually buying into SoFi. So it wasn't really algorithmic trading or anything along those lines. You actually did see institutions truly buying. Even right here, 5.08, that happened after hours, 3 million, 23.9 million, 1.7. So big institutions were paying attention to SoFi. And same goes for the dark pool. So dark pool is often enough used by shorts and whatever else. So you had a couple big ones here. So 2.65, 1.09, 2.09. And when it comes down to shorts, they did return 192,000 shares. And by analyzing this, kind of does justify today's green day. So all in all, pretty good stuff. And as I've brought up in the past, there is in excess of 10 million shares available to be shorted. So if shorts really did feel that SoFi was overvalued, there's more than enough ammunition to double down. And it's actually very cheap to kind of short SoFi with. So again, if people really did feel SoFi was kind of overvalued, they can easily bring it down. So this, I think, all in all, is pretty optimistic data. 13.67% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 148.49 million shares. So I do anticipate some big activity from shorts tomorrow as well as Friday, linking to labor data. So just keep that in mind and don't be surprised tomorrow during my video if you see them increasing or decreasing like 2 million, 3 million. So just be kind of aware of that. Cost to borrow minimum, on a side note, I believe it has been 5 consecutive days now of it being positive. So that means brokers out there are not paying anyone to short SoFi. So pretty good stuff as far as that. Looking at options, 9.69 million in calls, 4.89 in puts, 46% of all the options being done are optimistic in nature. But as you can kind of see, even in the first 5 minutes, so that was the market digesting the recent analyst rating, there was 847,000 in premium. So that's between 830 and 835. And ultimately, if we kind of look at it and orient it based on premiums, you see a lot of bullishness. And so a lot of calls being purchased, different strike prices and expiry dates. So $12 calls, $15 calls, and based on the premiums that they did pay, ultimately they're assuming it's going to be in excess of roughly $16 at the very bare minimum by, it looks as though, June 18th, 2026, or possibly January 16th, 2026. So again, options activity technically doesn't move the stock price. It is just more of a sentiment, but still this is relatively optimistic. So if you like to follow what big money is doing and all the other fun jazz, then definitely have at it. Based on the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 14 to 1450 for this week. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 1250. And clearly they are anticipating maybe some negative data or something else. But aside from all of that though, with it closing at 1367, it is trading between this R2 and this R1. So 1354 is going to be a strong support. Just watch for that to hold. Flip side, 1371 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So kind of close right below that. And then the next level is $14, which again, with good jolt numbers, you could see that being touched. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. As far as on the actual chart itself, today it did close above this dreaded 100-day moving average. So essentially, again, it's going to come down to the data tomorrow, but that will, if positive, pretty much signal a very nice breakout. So the hardest thing for at least this week was initially getting over that 100-day moving average, and it did. So I think essentially jolt numbers, again, even if it comes in line or even a little bit better, then you'll see a very nice push higher to most likely at the very bare minimum, the $15 range. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. So I think based on the chart and even with it being very oversold, that could really help it for the rest of the week. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Did you buy? Did you sell? What's your general thoughts on SoFi and as well the broader market? More specifically, what Trump said. And because I feel like this is a very bold move, and I don't think I've ever seen any president or any other country do this. So if this actually does work, like, I got to give Trump a round of applause. Very, very bold. Sometimes it's hard to see his bigger picture vision, but if this does get a lot of deals and stimulates the market, then honestly, I'm not complaining whatsoever. So yeah, let me know your viewpoint on that. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon to give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.